Everyone, and welcome to this meeting of City Plans panel. My name is Councillor Jules Hesselwood and I will be chairing today's meeting. Could I remind everyone that today's meeting is being live streamed on the City Council YouTube channel so that the public can observe the meeting without needing to be present. Can I also remind members of the public present that this is a formal meeting, and whilst we do welcome your attendance, we ask that you do not approach members of the panel during the meeting and that proceedings are observed quietly and without interruption. If this is not adhered to, you may be asked to leave and the meeting will be suspended while this is facilitated. City Plans panels deals with applications from the city centre as well as the largest and most significant applications the council receives. The aim of the panel is to hear all the relevant information from applicants, registered speakers and council officers to help members of the panel make their decisions. Could I now invite members and officers to introduce themselves and mute your microphones once you have introduced yourself. And if I can start from my left, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Daljit Singh. I lead the Central Area Planning team.
Good afternoon. Tim Hartley, the City Centre Planning team as well.
Good afternoon. I'm Lisa Brannan, Principal Engineer Highways.
Good afternoon, everybody. Councillor Katie Dye, Killenbeck and Seacroft.
Hello everyone, Councillor Asghar Khan, Councillor for Bermontos and Richmond Hill Ward.
Good afternoon everyone, Councillor Annie Maloney, Beeston Holbeck Ward.
Afternoon everybody, John Garvani, Councillor Horsforth Ward.
Good afternoon, Councillor Peter Carlill, Carvell and Farsley Ward.
Good afternoon, Lewis Footitt, part of the Plans Panel Admin team.
Good afternoon everyone, I'm Councillor Colin Campbell.
Good afternoon, Councillor David Blackburn, Farnley and Whateley Ward.
Good afternoon, Councillor Barry Anderson, Adlan Wolfdale Ward.
Good afternoon, Stephen Varley, Design Officer. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Andy Booth, Clerk to the panel.
Good afternoon, Philippa Plumtree Varley, Principal Legal Officer and Legal Advisor to panel today.
Good afternoon, David Feeney, Chief Planning Officer for Leeds.
Good afternoon, Jonathan Carr, Head of Development Management.
Okay, thank you everybody. So moving to agenda item number 1, please.
Thank you, Chair. Under agenda item number 1, there are no appeals against the refusal of inspection of documents. Under item number 2, there's no exempt information on today's agenda. Under item number 3, there are no late items of business. Moving on to agenda item number 4, could I ask members if they've got any interest to declare? I'll take that silence as a no. Moving on to agenda item number 5, we've got apologies for absence from Councillors Brooks and Seri. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. So, agenda item number 6 then, minutes of the previous meeting that we were here for, which was held on the 8th of May. I will go through the minutes for accuracy first of all, and then take matters arising. So, page 1 of the minutes. Yes, Councillor Campbell.
Page 7 on the... Yeah. I gave my apologies for this meeting. I'm going to jog your memory, Chair, because I mentioned it to you on the 10th of April that I wouldn't be able to get here. And I think I mentioned it to the clerk, whoever was clerking that day.
Yeah, yes, you did. Absolutely right. Sorry.
Yes, Chair, we'll make an amendment to include Councillor Campbell's apologies.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll include those apologies. Thank you for the reminder, Councillor Campbell. Anything else on that first page of the minutes? Okay, page 2, page 3, page 4, and page 5. Okay, so with that amendment to the first page, do members accept those as a true and correct record of the last meeting? Yes, agreed. Thank you, everyone. And any matters arising from those minutes at all? No. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. So without further ado then, we will move on to agenda item number 7. which is the application for the Merion Centre just over the road from here. And I will hand over to Tim. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Chair. This is an application essentially for two student buildings, albeit comprising demolition of an existing building and some neighbouring units, the construction of a 37-storey building comprising student accommodation, and also changes use and extension of Wade House to form student accommodation with associated infrastructure works and landscaping, and some replacement of the retail units within the shopping mall. As members are aware, there's a mix of uses in the Merion Centre and a mix of buildings, some of those dating back to the 1960s. The two areas of the site as part of this proposal are located within the heart of the Merion Centre. Wade House, which is marked on the diagram, and 100 Merion Centre is the building immediately north of that and underneath the marker point, which I'll show you some detail of what that is. It's essentially the Home Bargain store. Without telling you something that's obvious, we're alongside Woodhouse Lane, Merion Street, Wade Lane and Merion Way. This drawing shows the context of the Merion Centre in relation to some heritage assets within the city centre. The blue areas are conservation areas with Queen Square to the north, city centre conservation area extending to the west, and the Grand Quarter conservation area to the southeast. The red quadrilateral being the location of the site. And within the conservation areas of listed buildings, which members will be familiar with. This is an extract taken from the Tall Buildings Design Guide SPD, and that document identified at that stage an opportunity for a number of areas within the city potential for tall buildings. And one of those areas is that area marked green, with the note at the bottom, opportunity for a cluster around the Merion Centre. I suppose partly as a consequence of that SPD, we've seen a range of tall buildings being developed in the locality over recent years. But just to include the fact that it does include the Merion Centre itself. Moving towards the detail of the site, there's a red line around the two areas which form part of the proposal, as mentioned, Wade House and 100 Merion Centre and some neighbouring units, as well as the courtyard area to the rear. The development will come forward in essentially three phases. The orange area, the area in relation to Wade House, which would come forward first. The blue area is 100 Merion Centre, which would come forward second, and finally works to the main mall in grey. So Wade House, it's one of the earliest buildings within the estate. An office building, I think, opened in 1964. Bold architectural detail of its style with the layering of glazing and tiled bands and the distinctive gullwing feature and the roof. We have thought it to have sufficient merit to be called a non-designated heritage asset, but the condition of the building is such that its fabric, certainly its external fabric, is failing and needs to be replaced. I suppose partly as a consequence of its condition, the building has been vacant for nearly 4 years. Access into the building presently is from the balcony. You see in the bottom right hand photograph, up some steps which sit directly in front of it. So this drawing demonstrates the intent to basically peel away all the external facades and the roof of the building. The main structure, the concrete structure of the building and the staircases would be retained. was a question this morning about the staircase that sits in front of the Wade House into the Merriam Mall. It would be on the opposite side of this diagram, but the intent is to remove that staircase as the phase 2 part of the scheme comes forward. The proposal involves bringing the access down to mall level of the Merion Centre, so that there's level access both from the front within the mall and also potential access from the courtyard to the rear. Thereby improving access into the building, which is mentioned currently is from the first floor balcony. This has moved up. This drawing shows you upper level to balcony level. No, it's not. Sorry, it's jumped. I'm not sure if it's going to catch up. I'll describe the balcony level. Proposal at balcony level is to include two units where the existing entrance to the Wade House is, and a neighbouring unit, and those would be used for student amenity space. Moving up a level onto the third floor, the purple colour notation is student amenity space, surrounded by student studios. I'm getting nowhere. Is there one of these? The internet. No. Apologies, members, we've got an IT issue.
Okay, if we can just bear with for a minute while Lewis goes to try and sort the issue out.
I don't know how long that's going to take. Should we look at the model? Is that an opportune time to do that?
Okay, yeah, we were going to look at the model, once the presentation was finished. So what we will do then is take a quick 5 minutes while hopefully the internet issues are resolved. And the developers have brought a model for us to look at of quite a lot of the city centre and how it, the context of how this development fits in. So if members would like to just take 5 minutes to have a look at that model, and we'll pause the streaming, and hopefully we'll get the internet back up and running in a couple of minutes. Okay, thank you, members, and thank you to the developers for bringing the model in. It looks like everything is working again now, so I'll hand back over to Tim to continue the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Just going back a couple of slides just to refresh memories. This is the entrance from the Merriam Mall level into the building with two units, providing level access both from the front in the Mall and from the rear if people were, for instance, being dropped off in taxis. Moving up a level onto the balcony, two units would essentially be utilised as student amenity space. And then the full footplate of Wade House at level 3. The retained staircases at either end, a new staircase on the eastern elevation, the central corridor running down the middle. On the western side of the building, the purple coloration is amenity space, and the blue colours are student studios. These, and with all the student accommodation today, all meet or exceed the minimum sizes set out in the draft SPD. It's going up through the building, giving an indication the layout at higher levels, 21 studios per floor in this building. Due to essentially fire regulations, it's not been possible to introduce clusters into this building, but the studios themselves will provide suitable amenities together with the amenity space at the lower and upper levels of the building. And that's very similar to the previous diagram. And this is the roof level of the building, would be one level higher than the existing height of the building, and that space would be used for plant on the left end of the building, northern edge. The purple areas are internal amenity spaces, and a roof terrace, essentially facing west. Sorry. This diagram just brings together the different studios within the building, and these drawings identified the key design moves really in relation to the proposals for Wade House, utilising the existing concrete structure but lifting it to level, retaining or replacing the gull wing feature that sits at the top of the building, and adding a new stair tower on the eastern elevation. This drawing gives an indication in relation to the facade treatment for the new skin of the building, rain screen skin with aluminium textured panelling between vertically proportioned glazing units. And put together, the elevation facing west would look something like that. This is view essentially if you're standing in the Mall looking upwards at the building, and from the rear courtyard and beyond, introducing the new stair tower. The end elevations of the building where the new replacement gull wing, flying gull wing element is reintroduced. You see that in these diagrams as well. Essentially refreshing what's really a very tired building, and responding to some of those historic key architectural elements, but in a modern format. And that would be a view if you were just close to Wade Lane, I suppose, looking up at the corner of the building. Moving on to 100 Merrion Centre, this is a view from within Merrion Square with Morrison's behind you, looking through structures which ultimately would be removed in the later phases of the development through to where Home Bargains is located. I think you can see there's 3 bays at the at the moment, Home Bargains, and that would be fundamentally the outline of the building at its upper level, albeit at ground level the building would include a further bay to the south of that. We looked at that on site today to try and understand how that would work. But as I mentioned, the intent is to remove the structures within the mall to open up the space. So Home Bargains as a store would disappear, and the space above that, the vinyls on the windows, that's the location of the Merrion Centre Cinema, which closed in 1977. So it's been waiting a long time for a suitable use or redevelopment proposal to come along. So looking at the building from the back, the rear courtyard, essentially the lighter brick colour at ground level on the right hand side of the centre diagram is the back of Home Bargains, with the volume of the cinema in the dark brown brick sitting above that. Beyond that, you can see the Merrion Centre car park, and still on the left hand side, Wade House. Another view of the back of the cinema. This diagram brings together the proposals in relation to demolition for the second phase of the development. So, in the top right-hand corner of the that image is the ground floor proposals. So, Home Bargains is currently in this area, with the edge of Heron Foods there. The cash points here, and the Leeds Hospital's charity shop located in this area. Questions were asked this morning about what would happen to the ATMs and the Leeds Hospital's shop, and albeit the leases would need to be arranged, the intent is to retain those facilities if possible. So this is the footprint of the new building at mall level. You can see. Oops, sorry. Sorry, just get my slides in order. You can see how the existing frontage would be pulled back by about 2.5 metres, with a new colonnaded walkway essentially in front of the new frontage. The height of this space would be the same height as the existing Merrion Square roof, significantly opening up and enhancing that space. Just pick up here as well. There's a question asked this morning about the removal of the staircase outside Wade House. In the latest phase of the development, the intent is to introduce a new staircase in this position here. Hopefully you can see that there. So that in itself would then open out the access and entrance into Wade House. That's there. The ground floor of the building would function primarily as amenity space, reception areas, access areas, and together with supporting facilities like the substation and the large area of cycle storage. So moving up a level onto balcony level of the building, that goes back to the existing width of Home Bargains. You see that the building is still set back at the front, and similarly the building is effectively balanced in a similar way, similar arrangement at the rear of the structure. The green areas are all proposed amenity spaces for students. In addition to the internal amenity space, there's intent to produce a external roof terrace area, which would extend out from the rooms located there in 100 Merrion Centre. We've moved up a further level in the building. Again, the green colour, possibly yellow on the projector, is additional amenity space. And so it's not till level 4 that you get to the key footprint for the student accommodation. Essentially 3 areas of clusters. So at the left-hand side of the diagram, an 8-bed cluster with a green living dining room on the corner. On the opposite end, 2 5-bed clusters, similarly with living space on the corner of the building, and 5 studios located towards the centre of the plan. That arrangement's repeated up to the top of the building, which is 37 stories. This diagram just gives you an indication of the typical layouts within those studios. So the appearance of the building is significantly enhanced from that which exists. This is a view taken from that main Merion Square once the structures and escalator steps been removed. The base of the proposed building, the plinth would utilise a blue brick piers, producing the colonnaded bays extending down and grounding the structure above, with the glazing element set back behind the central entrance into the building. So that concept for the base of the buildings extends around the sides and to the rear of the building, with these blue brick piers along the sides, and as I mentioned, set back on the rear into the courtyard space. The diagram at the top is giving an indication of some of the potential condition within the amenity space. The main body of the building would be a lightweight glazed, lightweight in relation to what it looks like rather than how heavy it is, glazed glazing system, very similar to that utilised on the Scape Merion project building on Merion Street, which I think members will be familiar with. I just included these photographs to give you an indication of the appearance of the building in different lighting conditions. But the intent on the proposed scheme is to utilise a similar range of sky and soft blue tones as part of the glazing system. And here in closer detail is that facade detail, a mixture of clear, mesh, back painted, and solid curtain wall-in elements, producing that pattern and detail that appears on the screen and we call produced on the Scape building. And on the right-hand side of the image, a diagram which shows the intent to group the levels in groups of 3. So you get triplex banding arrangement, which is repeated every 6 stories of the building through the main body of the building. It differs slightly at the bottom and the top of the building to emphasise those elements, but the main body of the building utilises that pattern to create a strong rhythm across the elevations as a whole. This is a close-up of that arrangement. The colours aren't intentional, just to give you an indication of the nature of some of the elements as you look at them a bit closer. And in pure elevational form, you see the north and south elevation on these diagrams. It's say a rectangular, rectilinear structure, that strong base at ground, repetition of the glazed elements through the main body of the building, and brought toward on the edges and the top of the building with lighter coloured panelling. And this very slender ends of the building, I think there's something like 17 metres in width, and as we see in some of the image is just about to come up. That's a key element in terms of how you read views of the building from a certain direction. In relation to scale, hopefully this diagram will help members understand how big and how the building fits into the cluster of tall buildings that we've seen in the area. So 100 Merrion Centre and Wade House and orientation. Merrion Way runs along the line there, with the new building that's being constructed at the moment, Arena Point, I think you want to call it Cirrus Point, will be the tallest building in the city at this point, 44 stories. Alters House is its neighbour, been open for about 5 or 6 years now. That's the building that sits at the junction of Merrion Way and Wade Lane. As you notice, that's 37 stories, and 100 Merrion Centre would be 37 stories. Because of the difference in topography between the two, the top of the building, 100 Merrion Centre, would actually be a little higher than Alters House, but lower than Arena Point. Some members might recall we approved planning permission for a tower which would sit outside the arena. I'm afraid it's been washed out on this image, but the actual arena located somewhere around about here. And that building, its AOD height is 180 metres, exactly the same as the proposal on 100 Merrion Centre. So the building would sit within that existing and emerging context of tall buildings and helping to reinforce that cluster. This is a view which we often look at as part of some of the longer distance skyline views of the city from York Road, Quarry Hill, some buildings at Quarry Hill on the left hand side of the image. The Scape Merrion project building is that building on the left hand side. Wade House just hiding behind there, and the new 100 Merrion Centre building in this view would look a similar height to Alters House, lower shoulder. So in this context, you see that rise and fall across the city. This is a view looking down Woodhouse Lane. The Rose Bowl's on the right hand side of the image, so Leeds Beckett would be just to your right hand side, with the Vita student building, Leeds College of Technology in Woodhouse Lane. Merrion House located here, and the new building sitting behind that, an equivalent height essentially in all senses in relation to the height of buildings on Merrion Way. A couple of views from the sky, from the west, in a location hovering essentially above Millennium Square. This is a relatively early CGI, so we have Wade House in this location and 100 Merrion Centre, this position. That's Arena Point in the background. They are now at the top of the lift core there, so you get a good indication as to how high that building is. And dropping down 50 metres or so, just above the rooftops. Rossington Street, bottom of the image, and Woodhouse Lane here, Town Centre House, and the two buildings, new building and Wade House. And down to ground level, it's been a key view that we've spent a lot of time looking at as part of the design process with the developers, the architects, and the wider design team, trying to ensure that the building has an appropriate relationship in relation to its setting. Leeds City Museum's Grade 2 style listed building, but as you can see, as part of this image, there's already buildings in the background. There would be another building to add to that if this photograph were to be updated, where arena points located, which would top out somewhere about there. So there are existing buildings, albeit 300 metres behind the frontage to the City Museum. 100 Merrion Centre would be 190 metres behind there, but because of the difference in materiality, I think it's fair to say that the prominence of the City Museum would still be clear. We feel that there's a very minor amount of harm in relation to this view, but as you move around the Millennium Square, those views are clearly dynamic. So as you approach the museum, views of the building diminish, and of course some locations where the building wouldn't be visible at all. This is a view from the junctions of Albion Street, Great George Street, Woodhouse Lane, Marion Street, where I think you'd read the scale of the new building in particular to its greatest extent. But in this viewpoint, I think what the building would do would to draw your eye, but be a complementary focal point, given its high design quality, together with Wade House in the front, to the front of it, which is refreshing what is a very, very tired building at the moment. And in terms of the CGIs, and finally a view from the foreground to St John's Church, looking across Marion Street Gardens, Wade House, and the new Gullwing, and the 100 Merrion Centre sitting between those two components. Albeit it's a large structure, it's seen in the context of existing structures and not harmful in this direction. I think finally, in terms of these drawings and images, it's a drawing just to illustrate the fact that you can't see the building from, or won't be able to see the buildings from many locations. And this is from the top end of Newbridge, just outside Grand Arcade. And there's an outline of the proposed building which you can't see very well because it's hidden within it in this structure. Essentially, you won't be able to see the building. And so that's the case for many situations within the city. Due to the fine urban grain of the city, it screens and controls views of these structures. So I think that's all I've got to say for now, Chair. I'll pass it back to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for a very detailed presentation. We have no speakers for this application, but we do have the applicants here. So if you do have any questions, members, we can ask them to come and answer your questions. Okay. So first of all, then, do members have questions to officers? Councillor Blackburn.
Can I have sort of clarification on the steps up to Wade House? Because if I took it right, you say they're going to come out. What about the access to the other side, to where Mecca used to be?
Thanks, Councillor. I don't have the perfect drawing as part of this pack to show you, but I'll try and explain to you. No, I apologise. It's always a question of how, deciding how many drawings to produce for you, of which there's quite a number on this application, of course. So this diagram shows you where the home bargain store is essentially at the moment and where the ATMs are. The entrance to Wade House is just off shot here, and the stairs sitting within the middle of the mall. When this development comes forward, a new stair will be introduced in this location. That stair, apologies for not anticipating your question on this drawing, but that stair provides access across the top of the mall to the other side of where Mecca was, or whatever most recent reincarnation of the nightclub, as well as along the balcony in this direction. So there's still access to both sides and also to the units at that top level.
Okay, thank you, because that was one of the questions that we had on site this morning, wasn't it, about access to the upper floor of the Merrion Centre. I'm going to take Councillor Khan, and then I've got Councillor Gavani.
Thank you, Chair. Tim, on my questions on the accessibility at the back of the Wade Lane. When we were there this morning at the site visit, does it include improvement at the back of the pedestrian rights area, such as lighting, safety and security for students and other pedestrian rights people?
This is the best drawing, councillor, that I've got for you just at the moment. We haven't got into details in relation to new lighting proposals, but the primary pedestrian entrances into the building would be from the Mall. Not to say that there couldn't be access from the rear, and so the development does allow for that. So in relation to the southern access from Wade Lane, which is that ramp which we walked up and down, the footpath would be widened and identified going along the edge of Wade Lane. There is existing CCTV. As to whether or not there's need for additional CCTV, I think the developer would be aware of that. But equally, we've got the planning condition which should seek to control security measures for that. And just following on from that. Albeit the primary accesses to the buildings are from the malls. As you might know, there are shutters and locked doors at various locations around about the estate. And given the primary access locations, the intent is to review those positions and those forms of accesses. So the shutters themselves might move and be reconfigured into separate different locations. But we do have a start of discussion as to what that might be. I think the developer's just trying to work out the detail of how it would work practically. But that's intended to control by condition.
Thank you, Chair. Can I come back? I've got a few more other questions as well. Just on the drop-offs and pick-up for students and changeovers, can you just explore a little bit where will those locations will be? And the other question is on the wind studies. It's been a lovely day out today, but when we were there, we can feel the breeze. And if you're going to have a 37-storey building developed on that site, it will create more wind for that area. But how rigorous and how are you confident the studies that have been taken just carry those measures?
So picking up on the student arrivals and departures, that will be controlled by a condition with a management plan, but what's been presented is they'll have a strict booking system and they'll be using that space at the back for initial sort of drop off, but then also utilising space in the multi-storey car park as well. I hope that answers your question.
Thanks, councillor. In relation to wind issues, it's been forefront of the developers' considerations from the early stage in relation to introducing a tall building, albeit in the heart of the centre, which helps to disperse some of the winds as the wind hits the building and accelerates down. It would disperse over the rooftops, but there is that area in the courtyard in particular, which would be subject to some more significant winds. The details of the wind mitigation measures are set out at 9.9.2 in my report. I say that because you can't see them very clearly on this drawing, which is taken from part of the wind report, but essentially involves. I'm struggling to actually the details on that diagram, but it involves screens between 100 Merrion Centre and the multi-storey car park, a screen between 100 Merrion Centre and Wade House, canopy over part of the amenity space, screen and canopy over the access that goes down to the service tunnel over which we looked at within the courtyard this morning, and the combination of those elements will ensure that wind safety issues aren't triggered. In terms of we confident of that position. The proposals were peer reviewed on the council's behalf, and the response was that the proposals or the investigation was robust, and the proposals will satisfactorily deal with wind issues, so that there shouldn't be safety or comfort issues arising from the scheme.
Okay, that's okay. Councillor Khan, no more questions. Yeah, okay. Councillor Gavani, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's also a follow-up for Councillor Blackburn's question. So the current escalators coming out, the current stairs are coming out, and there's a replacement set of stairs going in. Is there any sort of disabled access up to the balcony at all?
I would have to defer to the developer on this. Can I ask the question?
Would you like to come to the table and answer those questions?
I believe there's an existing lift, but
there is a lift in there. Yeah. Would you like to just come to the table and we can ask the question, and if you can, when you answer the question, if you could switch the microphone on, then it will come to you. Thank you.
Hi again, everybody. I'm Wesley Dodge from Enjoy Design, so we're architects. There'll be a new lift provided with the new stair. So the strategy for the removal of the existing stair is that we have to manage other elements of the building as well. So there's fire escapes from what was Prism nightclub and a fire escape from Townsend House as well. So there's a strategy there to remove the original stair after instating the new stair that sits in the knuckle in the corner of the two, and a lift will go with that stair. There's also an existing lift that sits adjacent to Townsend House as the staircase comes down, which can remain in place as well.
Okay, thank you. There'll be donations to the Lord Mayor's charity. With that's 2 phones that have gone off now. Okay, if you don't mind just staying there, if in case there's any further questions. So we've got the access, the questions for the access. Okay, that's great. Councillor Dye, you were next.
Thank you. I have 3 questions. One of them goes back to the comment about the main entrance being through the Merrion Centre, and you mentioned movement of shutters. I'd like to hear a little bit more about that, and does that mean that more of the Merrion Centre will be accessible 24 hours a day? That's my first question. The second one is, in one of the comments, one of the comments that was made was about takeaway food, and the fact that if you've got a large number of students in a block all ordering food on their apps, has that been thought about, and is it going to mean that there are going to be lots of queued up deliveries waiting to drop that off? And then my third question is that the building that is going to be studios only, is there demand? And I just don't know the answer to this. Is there enough demand for studios as opposed to student clusters in the student population in Leeds? Thank you.
Yeah, in terms of the sort of any deliveries, that's all going to be accommodated at the back, through the courtyard.
Okay.
Okay, so there is a delivery bay, parking bay there. So that's anticipated that it will be used, for that type of operation.
Yeah, in terms of the 24-hour use of the main malls, there's not an intent by the developer to open that up at the moment. Would not be persuaded to change that situation, I don't know. But the proposals are early in discussion, really, in relation to what might result. Whether or not TCS want to advise further on that, they're with us today.
Would you mind coming to the table and again, when you're speaking, if you just switch the microphone on, please.
Good afternoon, Craig Burrow. I'm the Group Property Director at Town Centre Securities. So just to address the question around keeping the centre open longer, that is an aspiration, but at the moment we've got retailers that close at a certain time. So the expectation of introducing the residential use means that we hope to open up to other leisure operators.
And yes, yeah, I would say there's about the studios and clusters, yeah.
As part of the applications that we've had for student development like this, many of them including this include student need and demand reports. This application showed that there's still around about 23,000 students in the city who don't have access to PBSA. Whether or not they want to live in studios is an entirely different matter. But I think it's fair to say that there's still significant uptake, particularly from some international students for that type of accommodation. Alongside that, the strategic housing market assessment shows continuing demand for student accommodation, which won't be met by existing supply. So we do think that there's sufficient demand going forward. As part of the design and access statement, the applicant also identified proposals how the building could be converted into standard accommodation if there wasn't a demand, but I think it reasonable to say that the developer would be unlikely to develop if there wasn't a demand.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just interested in that because clearly there's a difference in price, isn't there, between a cluster and a studio, and wondering about affordability was my angle really on that one. And just to come back on the deliveries, is it going to be possible to ensure that does take place at the back? I'm just having a vision of students who are new to the city, who perhaps will just ring up or ask for something on their app and somebody turn up. I have visions of the Mall and the Merrion Centre being chock-a-block full of delivery drivers. Yeah. Yeah.
Luckily, the Merrion Centre is actively patrolled and looked after. And it's not our responsibility, it's Town Centre Security's responsibilities, and I think it'll be in their interest to ensure there's not going to be a problem for their other users, traders and customers in the mall. So there will be a layer of control which is already there.
Yeah, I mean, would you like to come in on that point?
Yes, so we manage the existing estate. All the security that is on the estate is employed by TCS, so we do have an existing management regime to control as best we can those deliveries. And we understand that introducing that residential use at that scale is going to bring more pressure, I suppose. But a lot of the delivery drivers are already aware of the restrictions, so most of them tend to adhere to the existing rules.
I'm going to bring in Councillor Gavani, but just before then, just your question, Councillor Dye, with regards the amount of student accommodation and demand. That's something that we were talking about between ourselves this morning on the site visit, and we were kind of having the same concerns. That is there still the demand for the amount of student accommodation? Bearing in mind there is a lot of student accommodation being built in the city. And and declining numbers of international students, which isn't just Leeds, that's, you know, affecting all universities. So that's good to know that for Wade House, that could be, if the demand wasn't there, are you saying that that could be then made into, you know, communal living, that sort of development that we're seeing around starting to spring up around the city? Is that something that could happen?
Yeah, that's entirely possible. So we were keen when we were appraising the redevelopment of Wade House that it had future flexibility. So, you know, the application is clearly for PBSA and nothing else, but we've demonstrated within the DNA statement that with relatively simple adaptation, it can be converted to a residential building or indeed to a hotel or something similar to that. Yeah.
No, that's good to know, because although we have got the demand right now, there is a lot of student accommodation, so it's good to kind of future-proof that and know what's you know what could happen in the future and how we can adapt to that. Thank you. Councillor Gavani, you want to come in again?
Thank you. It's on the accessing the flats late on an evening, on a night. From memory, the entrance that takes you off, I can't remember the name of the street, but from the arena side, that takes you down the side of the pedestrian entrance to get into the car park, that's shuttered off from the main mall. I presume the Woodhouse Lane and the Merrion Street entrances are also closed on a night. So somebody in those flats going back at 11 o'clock at night, what would their access route be?
So at the moment we've got doors on the Woodhouse Lane entrance and exit. It is a roller shutter on the north mall which leads to Merrion Way towards the arena. There is an intention that we would replace that shutter with a door arrangement, so there would be a secure access from that northern side. There's already one from the western side, which is Woodhouse Lane, and we would look at putting a new screen and door on the Wade Lane entrance as well. So that would give 3 points of entry and exit into a secure environment. We have 24-hour security in the Merrion estate, and that's the intention to continue to do that.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from members? Councillor Blackburn.
It's just about your existing people who have businesses where you're not going to be building, rebuilding. I take it you've got processes involved when you'll be doing that, so that their businesses will be safeguarded, so we're not interfering. I mean, it's not in your own interest, is it really? Interfering with their business, and they'll be able to keep going.
Yeah, so the nature of the estate is we've got a lot of existing tenants, retailers. Whilst you've walked around it today, it will have looked like most of the units are occupied. There's quite a lot of those units that are on very flexible terms, but it's in our absolute interest to make sure that those that are going to remain beyond the development works, that we make sure that we retain footfall and facilitate the best trading conditions for them whilst the works are underway.
Okay. Any further questions? Councillor Khan.
Just briefly on your comment, Chair, regarding the approving for the future for this building for change of use. If, say, for instance, we do approve this application today and change of use, will the application will have to come back again for? I just need a bit of clarification on that one, Chair.
Yes, so we're controlling the use of this development to full-time student accommodation, and the reason is because other uses trigger other planning requirements. So even if there were going to be no physical changes, but the use was to change, they would the owners would require a fresh planning permission, and then that allows us to ensure those other policies are considered at that stage.
Okay, thank you everyone. If there's no further questions then, I'll move on to comments. So do members have any comments on this application? Councillor Khan again? Yep.
Thank you, Chair. I do welcome the development at the Merrin Centre, but however, you know, at the moment what we are seeing in Leeds City Council, especially at City Plans panel, is more student accommodation. And I'm not against any student accommodation, but what I don't want to see the city centre becoming a ghost town when students go back home during summer holidays. It needs to be a mixture of development taking place in city centre, and as you know, as Chair alluded early on, there is a decline in international students coming into Leeds and across UK. So demand's going to be less and less, and the student bubble will burst eventually. And what proof do we have for these buildings to, you know, be used? But however, I do think this is a remarkable development, and I do welcome and happy to support and move the recommendation, Chair.
Okay, I will come back to you shortly, Councillor Garn, for that. I've got Councillor Campbell comments and then Councillor Dye.
It's almost tradition, really, isn't it, that every time there's an application for student accommodation, we express, or some of us express a view in relation to how long before the bubble bursts. And I think I'll say what I always say is, as far as I'm aware, we have no policy in relation to student accommodation in the city centre. There is a policy in Headingley, but it's not quite to do with that. Now, if members are particularly worried about that, the fact that the city centre is a mecca for students who have substantial income and spend it in the city, then we need to create a policy. I think my view is slightly different from Councillor Khan. I'm not too fussed about students occupying the city centre, because it seems to me that you talked about effectively when they all go back home, it becomes a ghost town. Well, I'm old enough to remember when nobody lived in the city centre. So after 6 o'clock, it was a complete ghost town. At least now for much of the year, the city centre is vibrant, it's full of life, it's full of activity. I find it a much safer environment because, I hate to say it, but there are a lot of young people wandering about. And so I'm in regard to this, I think, as we've said in the past, haven't we, the Marion Centre is becoming old, or old and tired, I think. And the owners are quite sensibly, in my opinion, looking at the use. And there's been a long process to revive elements of it. And this seems to me a reasonable use of Wade House and the old cinema. I know David here is very sentimental about the cinema. And if we're not careful, he'll talk about Mecca as well. So if I can preempt him on that one. But it seems to me a sensible use. So if Asgar's proposing, I'll second.
Okay, thank you. I'll come back to you both very shortly. I've just got Councillor Dye indicating she wants to comment first.
Thank you. I'm going to comment positively as well. I think it's an excellent location in terms of a physical location for where students are, and the potential for active travel is there. It's on their doorstep. And I also like the sustainability elements of reuse of a building, which I'm always in favour of. And I have no problem whatsoever with welcoming more student accommodation to the city centre. Thank you.
That's great, thank you. Any further comments? No? Okay, thank you everyone. I will just ask Daljit to sum up before we move to the recommendation.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think overwhelmingly members are supportive of the proposals. There are some comments which have been raised about the need to consider ongoing demand for student accommodation, and members should be aware we are continuously looking at that, and our most recent strategic housing assessment focused in part on that, and that evidence will inform policies going forward. But in terms of this particular application, I think members are very supportive. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, that's great. So, Councillor Khan, you have indicated that you're happy to move the proposal. We're looking at the proposal on page 13, the recommendation on page 13.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Before we move to recommendation, I just want to clarify that I did not say I'm against all student development, but what I want to see is more mixture of development taking place in the city centre. That's what I'd like to clarify, and I just want to, yes, happy to move for the recommendation, Chair.
Thank you.
Well, you never know, Chair. I may sign up for a student course, and then I could move into the city centre. I'll second, Chair.
Okay, thank you both. We welcome that, Councillor Campbell. I'm sure we can find you suitable accommodation for your studies. Moving to the vote then, the recommendation has been proposed and seconded. So can I see members by show of hand, those in favour, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's everyone, I think. That's unanimous. Just for clarity, any abstentions? No, anyone against? Change the mind or anything? No? Okay, brilliant, that's great. So that's a unanimous decision in favour of the proposals. So I'd like to thank yourselves for coming along today and answering questions and bringing the model, which was really useful to put the development in context for the rest of the city centre. So that has been carried. Would anyone like to sum anything up? We're happy with everything? Okay. Right, thank you everybody for your attendance and for passing the recommendation in very quick timing today. So the next meeting will be on the 10th of July at 1:30, and I hope to see you all there. Thank you for your attendance.